Welcome to the MYBcast, a podcast devoted to exploring alternatives for self-care through somatic touch therapies of all sorts. We are fascinated with the mind-body connection, and so are the people we talk with. Today, we are continuing our series, Seeds. Seeds is a podcast about a set of somatic touch principles that we call somatic mindfulness. When we integrate these principles in our work, what are we experiencing? What happens for different therapists who embody these principles? What changes in their practices and in their lives? In Seeds, we talk with members of our growing somatic mindfulness community. How are they adapting attuned touch to their work, and how are their clients responding? Seeds is for anyone interested in somatic mindfulness and what it can do for them. What's so beautiful about somatic mindfulness is that it recognizes the student in all of us, exploring, studying, and developing this work that we love. The journey is a rich one that allows us to develop ourselves by simply being with our clients. I'm Madelana Ferrara. I'm here with my co-host, Richard Mack. We're both masters of somatic movement therapy and education, as well as teachers of somatic mindfulness. We're co-founders of MYB, a successful somatic therapy clinic in Cedar Grove, New Jersey. Today, we're excited to continue our conversation with our guest, Dawne Ermert, and learn about what somatic mindfulness means to her and how it's impacting her work and her life.
Dawne, welcome back to the show. So nice to see you.
Hi.
And for those of you who did not watch episode 1 of Dawne, you better go watch that because it's really, really good. So, Dawne, I just want to say this. There's a whole lot to unpack around the experience that you and I shared together. And I am writing up a case report on that, which will be available on the Foundation for Somatic It's a place where somatic touch therapists of all different types of modalities get to write their case reports and share it for the public to see. So that's going to be the bulk of it. So any kind of details around that is going to be available there. But I know Madelana has got some juicy questions to ask you about your
Yeah.
experience and how that left the table and impacted your life. So I'm going to turn it over to Madelana.
So thanks, Richard. Dawne, you talked a little bit about the physical symptoms that you had before that fateful, wonderful session that you had with Richard. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about some of the physical difficulties that were showing up for you? And then
Oh,
what happened after?
yeah. So I was having migraines 3 to 4 times a week. My body was hurting every single night. My back, my arms, my legs, hips. Sometimes I would like have to struggle to walk to get back in the house at the end of the day. Um, I mean, it sounds crazy being in my 30s, and at the time I was, even younger, but I I couldn't do, what normal people my age could do without being exhausted or hurting. And it was all that trauma that was stored in my body. I'd done years of talk therapy. I'd done brain spotting, EMDR therapy. I've done, you name it, I've tried it, but it was still in my body. And no amount of pain medicine was helping. Muscle relaxers didn't touch it. Nothing helped. And so I knew it was psychosomatic. And that's kind of why I seeked it, as I was looking for psychosomatic therapy. And I went from that, literally that day, the first day of class, I went back to the hotel and had a migraine. The very next day when he worked on me, I didn't have one. And I drove in the city all day. Normally, like that's got me, pretty tight and tense, didn't have any pain then. And then the next day I didn't have pain, and the next day, and I kept kind of waiting, like, when is this going to wear off? Like, when is the pain going to come back? Because I've never been pain free. Like even in my teens, I still was hurting, And so finally, like a couple weeks later, and a couple months later, and now I'm just convinced that like it's just not going to come back. So I'm a
Wow.
believer. It's gone. Now if I have a migraine, it's if a storm comes through, I have Chiari malformation. So if a storm comes through and the barometric pressure is up, I'll have a headache then, but that's kind of because of the pressure in my head. Um, but I rarely have a tension headache or have, a migraine to the fact that I used to. And body pain, like I said, I only have body pain if I'm like physically working my body a lot and, you know, for good reason have pain. Um, that's just amazing to me.
So that has to have had an impact on your parenting, your
Absolutely.
relationship with your husband. Like, can
Yeah.
you, like,
Yeah.
what's new and different?
Uh, well, one, like when I came back, like I told my husband, like I'm not the same person. I am a different person from, the person that left here is completely different. And he was like, it's true. Like I was like so much more softer because when you're in pain all the time, you're constantly on edge. Like, when you're dealing with a toddler and they're crawling all over you, your temper is like a little bit shorter than it should be. And I was like completely okay with her just playing and hanging on me and stuff. And that's completely unheard of. Normally I'm like, get off of me, it hurts. But now like I was wrestling with her, piggyback riding. Um, and one thing that is really special is I've taught my daughter this work.
Tell
She's
us.
5 years old and she knows when her body is feeling a certain way to drop into that space and kind of ask like, why am I feeling this way? What is this emotion that I'm feeling? And she can work through it. And that to me is worth $1 million, like that's some special stuff. She'll take that her whole life and she hopefully will never have chronic pain like I did or have any issues like that. She'll be able to
Mhm.
regulate her emotions and her body. And for me personally, that, like I said, that's worth everything to me.
You changed your familial trajectory.
Completely. Yeah. I went from being kind of the strict mom that's kind of, tough love mom, doesn't really give much affection to I love my daughter. We play, we do makeup, we spend all the time together in the world. And it's all because of you, you
I'm
know?
I'm kind of curious. You mentioned in our first episode about your daughter having seizures.
Yes.
Has the has what you've taught her from this work had any impact on that?
So the crazy thing is so she started having seizures about 6 months old. She had her first one. The last one she had, she was 9 months old and it lasted over an hour long. And that was kind of when I was like, look, I've got to be able to have a job to where I can be with her if she has it. Because she was having little tremors before that. And then this really long one lasted and she had tremors a little bit after that. So I quit my job, signed up for massage school, and she never had another seizure again. The so again, you can call it fate, you can call it, divine intervention, but we took her to Children's Hospital and they ran every test and they said it's like she's never had any neurological issue. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Um, I'm mindful of our time and so grateful for your time and
Mhm.
your willingness to share all this personal information. I'm sure it's going to be really helpful to not only to other therapists but also to the public who may listen and hear. If you met another therapist who didn't have experience with this kind of work, particularly with somatic mindfulness,
Mhm.
is there anything that you feel compelled, like I would want to tell them this one thing that would immediately help them in their practice?
Mhm.
Is there something that comes to mind for you?
The term no pain, no gain is false. If you're causing someone pain, their body thinks you're attacking them, period. Their nervous system believes it to its core it's being attacked. And yes, you can break up that muscle and you can, make it submit, I guess, if you want. They're going to leave sore and they're going to have mental issues, mental trauma from that as well. Um, Less is more, like whenever you're doing massage, really drop into like working with the body, not forcing it. You're not doing that. You're going with the body. If that means really, really slow and soft touch, then that's what it means. That's what that body needs. Um, Another thing is, at our core, we all have an inner child. We all just want to be loved. We all just want to feel safe. And our clients are no different. Just love them. Whenever you're massaging them, don't think of it as like a lover, nothing like that. But like think of it as like, this is my child. Like, how would you touch your child if you were comforting them? If they were hurting, you wouldn't like grind your arm into them or whatever. That's not how you treat someone you care about. You would touch them softly. Um, and really put your intention there. Your intention matters. Where you're at personally, how you're feeling matters. So if you're thinking about what's for dinner later or whatever, and you're not in that with them, they can feel it. They can feel that you're not there with them. And you're just another number, like, okay, I've got a client coming up. I don't care. I got to rub this one down and get it out. No, like there's times where I'll go over a couple minutes because I'm just giving that body what it needs. And if that means that I go over a couple minutes, and then whatever, that's what they need. Um, but I think that massage therapists kind of, we've been taught to just treat bodies as an object and not a soul. There's a soul on your table. And a lot of times they're very uncomfortable being naked. They're not used to like just walking around naked. Like it makes them uncomfortable to be vulnerable already. And so you're already asking them, "Hey, can you be vulnerable with me? Oh, and I'm going to torture you while you're in here." Like that's not cool. You need to treat them as somebody that you care about and somebody that you respect. Um, I really wish a lot of massage therapists knew that, because I have a lot of clients that come to me, and when I put my hands on them, they start twitching and shaking because the torture that they've endured before from other people. And they've told me, like, I haven't had a massage in years because the last one hurt me so bad, like I never wanted to be touched again. And I think
Wow.
that's so sad because our original language is touch. We start with touch. From the day we're born, is touch. And for you to hurt someone so badly that they never want to be touched again, imagine what you're doing to their marriage. Imagine what their husband or their wife has to deal with, because that's in their brain, that touch is not safe. And so touch them safely, treat them like someone you care about, not just another number. Mm, that,
That
I mean,
is
that's,
sage
that's my
advice.
soapbox. I'll hop off now.
Well, hopping off or hopping on, you're hopping onto the exact topic is
Yeah,
that, as a somatic touch therapist, and that's who
yeah.
you are, you've embraced this from the inside out.
Hmm.
Can't help but approaching a client that comes onto your table with a sense of curiosity.
Yeah,
You don't have any preconceived notion. I'm going to start with the head and end with the feet. You're just going
no.
to go there and say, what's going to show up? I have no idea, but we're going to go there. And then
Hmm.
let your intuition come into fold. Okay. Like, what is
Yeah.
that? What do I do with that? One of our teachers, Dean Yuhan, refers to the human body as an aqua system, just energy and fluids flowing, and just following that and just understanding where the dams are. Inflammation is going to be above the dam. Below the dam is just dry and just nothing. And just
Hmm.
open that all up. And then, of course, the compassion of the heart. We are all one being. And if we
Hmm.
realize that whatever we do to somebody else, we're doing to ourselves, it's
Hmm.
a major, major lesson that we have to learn. So you've experienced that and you're bringing
Yeah.
that to the table. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dawn, I'm so happy to meet you.
Yeah.
And I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah.
You're
Are you
doing
coming September?
really beautiful work. Yes, I will be there in September.
Good.
And so thank you for your time and for your sharing here with us on this podcast.
And Dawne, just share with the audience where they can reach out to you, what type of services that you do. How does somebody that is connecting with you can
Mhm.
actually contact you and experience your services?
So you can go to mindbodyoasis.com, Mind and Body Oasis. On Facebook, you can look me up on Facebook. Um, Oasis of the Mind and Body, and then Dawne Ermert. Sorry. You can find me on there. Google, I'm sure you can Google. I'm out of Batesville, Arkansas. If you want to reach me by phone, it's 870-307-4970. I'd love to talk with you and, you know, see what we can do.
And you're on the Somatic Mindfulness website.
Oh, that too.
So I'd like to thank Dawne and all of our listeners for joining us for this episode of Seeds. We hope the stories inspired you. The series has been made possible by our hosts, Richard Mack and me, Madelana Ferrara, our production team, Mitch Lieber, Fernando Rojas, and me, and our guests, whose willingness to share their personal stories is courageous and vital to educating the public and creating change. You're all leaders with heart. Thanks to our sponsors, Mind Your Body and Somatic Mindfulness. Find them both on the web at myb.llc and somaticmindfulness.co. Find any of our guests on the Somatic Mindfulness website. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and join us again for more interesting, compelling, and heartfelt stories.